Tips for the new coming market, what they're going to be doing differently from 012 to 013, and they can just be little couple nuggets. So, for example, I'm Matt Atkinson. Here's an example. I'm going to partner with more investors so I can leverage myself better. Does that make sense? Before I was all about, I can only do deals by myself, I can only do so many deals. Now I'm partnering with other people, I can do more deals. So I'm giving you guys an example, so what to ask. So,
Like one tip each?
Yeah, one tip each.
I'm going to hire more subcontractors in 2013. We're trying to get 100,000 remodel out the door every month, and it's pretty hard to do.
Hey everybody. Hey. Brian and I are going to do more skiing in 2013. Yeah, that's probably real estate related, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Boy. Ann and I were actually spending some time on the way down here thinking about this. I guess the big thing for us is Ann has become a realtor a lot because of the realtors that we met that are also investors in this club, and we realized the kind of additional leverage that can get for us. So that's one of the things that we're doing different for next year.
So one thing I'm going to do different is I'm going to start coaching and teaching, but a good tip for you guys, because that doesn't really help you necessarily for anyone that's new, well, a good tip that I started already, but I think is going to continue into next year is speed of implementation in everything that I do, including making offers, going and looking at houses when I learn something new. I always love the saying of education is just entertainment without implementation. So the quicker, the faster you do it, the more useful it is. So that's kind of one of my themes for next year.
My husband and I went from a flipping strategy to a buy and hold strategy last year, and we're going to continue to do that this year. Our rule of thumb is if you can make more money in 3 years renting the property with positive cash flow than you can flipping it 1 year, it's probably a better buy and hold than it is a flip.
The biggest change for 2013 will be doubling the amount of offers that we actually make. Right now, I recommend that everybody make one offer a day. So we're going to make 2 offers a day in 2013. You don't get paid unless you close escrow. And I've never closed escrow without making an offer. So it's down to the simplest math. Make more offers, close more escrows, get more checks.
Now we're going to open up just Q&A. Who has a question?
One quick comment.
Comment.
That's the best.
What Sean had to say is probably the most useful for a new investor. I've never made more than 20 offers without getting an acceptance. So.
Great. Okay, we'll go all the way at the top.
I have a rental property in Grandview, Provo, and looking for more ways to get it moving faster. We're putting a new carpet and a water heater this week. It's been empty for 2 months. What are your tips? Huh?
Cable, free cable.
Free cable.
Oh, that's a good tip. Okay. Go ahead. To anyone.
I'm assuming you got it on KSL?
Yeah, KSL, Craigslist, signs all over the place, yes.
Okay. Do you have any other properties available right now?
I don't.
Okay. If you did, or somebody else did, make sure that in every ad that you have, you're putting an offer at the beginning and at the end of the ad, something like for other properties like this.
Right.
Kind of like a sandwich is what the guy that taught me this. So you've got an offer of, because if that property doesn't work, you want to capture their information, even if you don't have another property. If you want to build a buyer's list or a renter's list, that's a great way to do it. Give them an offer for other properties like this or for future properties like this. Send them to some sort of capture page and get their email so that you can market them for the next time.
Yeah, excellent.
I only have 2 rentals and I haven't had a problem, so I'm not good at that question.
Thanks for showing off.
Is your rental property on a busy road or is it in a neighborhood?
It's in a neighborhood.
You may want to consider finding somebody that's on a busy road very close to there, knock on the door and see if they'll let you put a sign up on their yard. When we have signs on our busier properties, we'll collect so many applicants from there and then send them into the neighborhoods to get, see if they'll see our property and get it rented that way.
Hold an open house for your rental property, do every door direct mail all the neighborhood surrounding houses, tell them they can pick their neighbor, and hopefully they'll bring somebody to you. And when you do your open house, have live signs, people with live signs, you know, you've seen in the Jazz with the taco shop or whatever, and direct those people in. Because unless you get enough people looking at it, you're not going to get any offers to rent. So the goal is to get as many eyes on your property as possible.
Can I share something?
Thank you.
I would list the property 30 days before it's going to become vacant. If you're evicting the tenant or you know they're moving out, I learned this at Mr. Landlord when he came 2 years ago. When he came, I owned about 24 doors, it jumped up to about 45. So we have less than a 1 week vacancy rate if we market the property a month before because you're going to screen them. Second comment real quick is a great tip. I never renew leases from September until August or April. This is something he also taught. I only renew from April 1st until the end of September. Then you are having the most desirable time to have them move out. Unless you have a Section 8 tenant, which is pretty much guaranteed, we just do different lease examples. So just wanted to share that.
Who else has another question up here? Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Joel said you can find properties in Michigan at a real good deal. And where do you find, when you start looking, let's say, in the western states, where can you go, where do you get information about where you can buy good deals on properties? Doesn't have to be in Utah. I'm starting to look at Utah, and it looks like the prices here in Utah are pretty high. And so where do you want to go where it's maybe a little lower and hold it a little longer?
So, are you asking me where to find properties outside of Utah?
Yeah, and get some data on how to.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've only ever bought where I lived. I'm sorry, I can't answer that.
A really good resource is the HUD Home Store site because you can pull up all the United States on that. And you just put in which state you're looking for, and then you can kind of see what the deals are. You can click the sort button and sort it by extended. Extended means investors are available to bid on that property. If it's not extended, it's exclusive. That means it's owner occupant only.
I guess but your question is, you said they're overpriced. That's relative. So what it costs you. So if it costs you $0 out of your pocket and it gave you money every month, is that too much? So you can find those anywhere, right? You can find those right next door. I can take you out here in 30 minutes and probably find you 30 houses that you could take a potential offer on. But no, you're not going to get them for $5,000, right? So I think the better question is not where you buy, it's who you're buying from, okay? And you're going to find your best deals going direct to sellers. So get an absentee owner list from any title company and hit it really hard.
Have Randall answer that. We'll do another question.
We actually don't promote investing out of state because for probably every person that makes money, I can show you 10 that don't. I don't know anybody in this club over the last 8 years that's made money consistently investing out of state unless they have boots on the ground. Like Joel said, he lives there. You gotta have boots on the ground because it's all relative. Because you know, downtown Detroit, I think brownstone mansions go for $100 grand. You know, I mean, you can pick them up for the taxes now. I mean, it's, you know, $3,000. You go to Kansas City, you get a duplex for, you know, $7,000 to $15,000. You know, East LA or East St. Louis is the same thing. You know, it's cheap. So if you're looking at the average home price as being $220,000, $200,000 here in Utah, yeah, that's a lot of money. But the difference is those areas aren't going up in value, number one. It's really hard to make money in those. If you buy a duplex for 15 grand, you can't build one for 15 grand. You can't do very much to it because you know you've got all these duplexes that are $15,000. So, you know, and the lowest rehabs that we've done in probably 5 years, maybe $20,000, $15,000. So now I've got a duplex that's $30,000. I might be able to sell a remodeled duplex for 30 grand, but there's no profit. And so several of the investors, what they've tried doing is they go in there, they'll buy them for 15, put 15 into them and try to sell the financing. You for 50, but then it's, you think, okay, this is pretty good. In about a year or two, they move, the people leave, and, they're back again with a trash place with meth, calling Apple, here to come and deal with it. So it's just like like Sean said, invest where you live or where you know. I've invested in other states, but I've lived there. And I have family members there, and I have people that are active in the real estate business, and so it makes sense to do that. But be careful about these cheap houses that people talk to you about, because there's a lot of people peddling those to the unwary. It's easy to separate somebody from their money, especially when they start getting greedy.
Cool. Thanks. Dan had a question.
Sean, you said you doubled your offers.
Yeah.
And what you would do different. And my question is, what avenues would you take to double your offer? Or do you want how to find offers that so you can double?
So your question was, double my offers, but how do I know who to double my offers to? So there's two ways I do that. I've increased my marketing. I'm tripling direct mail. So you get a lot of people calling. And so everybody that calls, you screen them out, and you make an offer to every one of those people. But I think the easiest way for people in this room is, if you don't have access to the multiple listing service, you probably know somebody that has. Or I think everybody can get on Realtor.com. There's thousands of houses on there at any one time. So all you have to do is grab a house every day, grab two, and make an offer. And you just back in your numbers. So if you want to buy a house and you want to flip it, then you know what you can offer on that house. And so you make that offer. But go through the process of writing the offer and submitting the offer. And you have an unlimited supply of houses, because unless we really have a tough year, there's never going to be 0 houses on the MLS, and they're never going to be worth 0. So then you just come to, first is obviously referrals are my best source, and then after that is my mail, and then after that is cold call, outbound cold call, or just straight off the MLS. So if you exhaust all your referral sources, and then you've exhausted all your inbound call sources, then start going to the cold call and start going to the MLS. That's how I think you double your offers.
We had another question right there. Go ahead.
Same question. So,
Did that make sense?
It did. As a first time attending this meeting, I'd like to make my first deal looking at a house.
Right.
What advice would each of you give to someone looking for their first deal, and lessons that you wish you had known doing your first deal looking at a house?
Well, find a good deal, first of all. Make sure you trust who your advisor is, and then you've got to be really realistic on your rehab numbers as well, because I've seen people fail miserably because they underestimated what it was going to cost to rehab the house.
A couple good things for advice is go with your gut. Usually if it's a good deal, you'll know it, you'll have a feeling about it, and that's a gut as far as numbers, not like, I love this house gut, and I'm emotionally in love with it. But no, these numbers make sense, and I have a good gut feeling that this is a good style home, and after you've reviewed all the numbers. And like she said, trust your advisor, whether it's a real estate agent, another investor, and get as many opinions as possible. So you may have one real estate agent, but you also know multiple people maybe that from here that you can call up, and you don't want to take their time up by having them do all the research, but maybe you have everything all together and you say, and if you present it to them nicely where I can look over the numbers, the after repair value, the repairs, a general repair breakdown, what you're going to buy it for, the area, and a couple of comps, I can glance over it and say, yeah, that looks like a pretty good deal. And also, from my experience, this and this about the area, they're going to probably give you 10 minutes worth of advice if you're a nice guy. So, yeah, so be nice to people. But yeah, those are the good tips that I can give you.
2 thoughts for you. One is keep the, different from what you were saying, Matt, keep the emotion out of it. I think I've shared with you guys here before, the first several rental properties that we bought back in Michigan, we bought because we were emotionally, I guess, sort of committed to the real estate club that we were in, and we felt that we wanted to belong And by the lawn, we thought that we needed to purchase something. Whether the numbers worked or not, it's like, okay, well, we bought it. So try to keep the emotion out of it. If the numbers don't work, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Nate?
Yeah.
Okay, Nate, you've got a job, right? Okay, so you've got other income coming in. You don't have to flip a house in order to pay bills. Okay, so you actually lose absolutely nothing if an offer you make doesn't go through or they counter higher. So keep the emotion out of it, make sure that the numbers work before you.
Randall?
There's three things that I guess that came to mind here. One is when you make your offer, if it doesn't embarrass you, it's not low enough. Okay? So you should be a little bit embarrassed. The second one is ignore the MLS. And by that I mean that it's a good place to buy property, but I don't care what they're listed at. Matt, that house on Texas that you wholesaled to, what did they list at, like 3 something, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we got it for like 70 or 90 below list.
Yeah, well, you wholesaled it to me, I made 30 grand off of me.
Yeah, and you got it below list.
Yeah, I think it was like 325.
Yeah.
You got it for I think you got it for 185, and I bought it for like 212.
Yeah,
Something like that. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I don't really care what they're listed for. It doesn't matter what they're listed for. And if I make 5 offers a day, I'll get a deal every week. I only made 5 offers this month. I think we've got a deal. I mean, is that about right, Josh? But it's, I get bogged down in minutia. So you have to leverage, like you start working, you were asking, you start working with a realtor, you start making contact with wholesalers. Wholesalers, raise your hand. Okay. And then here's my, these guys here, these have properties, these are people that have properties. Because you're leveraging, because they're making time, and here's the magic number. If you're new, your first time, I'll tell you 2 things here.
He's being really generous because he's wearing a Santa Claus outfit right now.
That's right. So basically, what is ARV? After repaired value, after remodeled value, after repaired value. Okay. So Matt and I have tracked our deals over the last 3 or 4 years, and we're trying to figure out, the best way to do this, to figure out what a viable number was. And it used to be that we take 80% of the ARV minus the repair costs. So if it was 100 grand, it'd be $80,000, and needed 20,000 in repairs, we'd offer 60. Okay, and that worked. But the problem with that is it's hard to really look at what their repair costs are, because people with semi-properties, 5,000 square feet, needs new paint, carpet, 10,000 in repairs. Pretty subjective, doesn't work. So what we did is we tracked our transactions over several years to figure out where the beginning of a good deal is. And what we found was this: if you have a $40 per square foot difference between the purchase price and the sales price on a home under $250,000, that's the beginning of a good deal. Okay, so that means that 1,000 square feet, if the price is $100 a foot, then it's going to be $100,000, okay? And I want to make sure that that house is going to sell for a minimum of $140,000. Okay, that's real simplistic. You're not going to find very many good deals there. Typically, you need a $50,000 spread. So it needs to be $50,000.
That's a small rehab.
On a small rehab, you need 50 grand between purchase price and sales price on a rehab. If you're going to buy and hold, or you can, Sean can talk to you about sandwich lease options and a whole bunch of other things, you can make some of these work. But on a small rehab, we're talking about buying property, fixing it up, and selling it. This is what you're looking at.
Could you repeat that formula one more time?
It's a minimum of $40 a foot spread between the purchase price and the sales price. I used to have, we had an appraiser in-house, agents, they'd say, well, you can't go off a square foot price. And I used to think this really sucks because agents are having a hard time finding properties for me because they don't know how to figure the repair costs. And so there's got to be an easier way. And so when I tracked it, I brought it up to Matt, and Matt said, hey, that works.
You say houses under 250?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically under 250,000, so that works. I like a better spread than that. This house that we sold for, let me put it this way, we bought this house, what was the price per square foot when we bought it? 70,
I don't know, I just know.
who's got a calculator? It was
There's no without the addition.
2715, 235,000 divided by 2715. 90? Okay. No, is that, no, it's too high. What is it? Okay, 235,000, divide that by 2715.
$86.55.
Okay, close. So we're gonna call it $87. But so $87 a foot, okay? So that was the square foot price. It's closing Tuesday at 164.
64, yeah.
Yeah. So it's 164, and I really don't want to do that math. But, you know, it's a 70, almost $80, you know, spread in there. You know,
My
70
last flip had a $75 per square foot spread.
So that's just to get you an idea, the beginning of a good deal on a lower end rehab, you're not doing major stuff too, is $40 a foot.
$40 a square foot, that includes all your repairs, your hardware.
Yeah.
That's real tight.
It's tight, it's the beginning of a good deal.
So if a light rehab, as the rehab gets more and more expensive, you're gonna want.
You're not moving walls.
So what's your average? It's not light, I mean.
50, 60 a foot.
Yeah.
50, 60 a foot, yeah. 57, in fact, I've done 3 in Canyon Rim, were bought in the 70s and sold at 140. And so that's,
I've done deals where the spread's $20 a square foot, but I put like literally paint carpet. Not that, you're getting a wholesale where people are saying paint carpet. But literally I put paint carpet in because it was a deal that wasn't on the market and it was undervalued. And we only had to put a little bit of money into it, and I flipped it in like less than 45 days. Then that's like a I've done deals at $20 a square foot spread, but you know, your average, your lowest you're going to go is 40 probably.
The builder's fees is $10.
Well, I'm a realtor, and I didn't have to pay realtor fees on the front side or the back side.
You just have to beat them down.
They were, but because they caught one back in my own pocket.
on those houses,
Because I'm a real estate agent.
I'm probably spending 21, 22 bucks a foot on them. You know, I mean, that's what I'm looking at for a rehab. But there's money in those. I've never lost money on a rehab since the first one. I lost 50 grand on it. And that, I mean, that's the number. If somebody brings you a deal, there's not $40 a foot. And I don't care if they say it's above grade, it's below grade, doesn't matter. You know, because we've ran through them all. If there's not at least $40 a foot spread, it's not worth looking at. Or your offer needs to be lower than that. If they say, I can get this for this price, and you look at it, there's not $40 a foot there, you don't want to make that offer. I can make the offer of $50 or $55.
So if I'm correct, basically you're saying you need to get it at a 60% discount?
Well, that would be that on that.
On that deal.
That deal, but not,
Just on.
I mean, it depends on, you know, I use simple math because I'm a simple guy.
Do you factor any difference on larger property?
Yeah, I on bigger stuff, I might spend up to $43, $45.
Yeah, this is just a.
250 or less. It's a basic house, that you're gonna do probably a $40, $50, $60,000 rehab on, maybe, you know, 30. So,
You always need to run hard numbers.
yeah, but that's
That's just an idea, hey, this might be a deal.
it's just to fill your sieve. You gotta fill your deal pipeline.
Yeah. So if you really want, like you said, formulas. So there's 3 formulas that if you can run past these 3 tests, you're on your way to at least saying, yeah, this is a pretty good deal, and maybe get some advice from other people. But there's the R formula, which is after repair value times 0.75 or 0.8, whatever one you want to use to be safe with, minus out your repairs. Then you have the $50,000 rule, which is at least $50,000 is the minimum of your purchase price to your sale price. And that's for a pretty small rehab. And then the $40 square foot rule. So there's those 3 rules. At least you have to pass those before you can, and then you'll want to work through the numbers. But those are just quick tests to just look at it real quick. You know, obviously every deal's different, there's gonna be different repairs, a lot of different factors, but, you know, that's the general.
We can do probably 3 or 4 more questions, so raise your hand if you would cherry pick. So 1, 2, 3, go ahead.
Okay, Matt, so you're talking, those tests, at what point are you putting it under contract before you start? I mean, are you already knowing what costs are gonna go in here, or before you put it under contract, you put it under contract and then start to think about, here's the number?
Okay, so here's my process. I look at a house on the MLS, and I have my hot sheets or whatever, whether it's a area that I watch closely and know off the top of my head, or I set parameters for what I know I can buy and sell in that area, or whatever. But if it pops up on my radar, I look at it, I look through the pictures, I set an appointment to go look at it. When I'm at the appointment, I take a repair estimate. At the same time, my dad's doing a CMA to figure out what it's worth, and then we meet after and talk about what it's worth, how much in repairs, what we're going to do to it to make it sellable if it's functionally obsolete or has a weird layout, whatever, and then we make an offer. So I do, but that, when I say you need to act, one of the first questions is I need to act quick, that all happens if you're going to get a property, especially right now. It needs to happen within a couple of hours.
Monica, can you answer that, and then Sean? Maybe what you do when you start like that?
I'm going to just agree with him, but I want to bring up one more point too. Right now the inventory is so low, and that's why he's saying you've got to act really quickly. So a lot of times you want to tie up that property as fast as you can and then work the numbers as quickly as you can. We track the inventory every week, and last year at this time we had about 4,600 to 4,800 active listings in Salt Lake County. Right now we have under 3,800. Typically around the height of the market, maybe in the second and third quarter, we've got about close to 8,000 in inventory when we had an overabundance of that. Even this last 6 months ago, we were down to 4,200. So you've got a ton of rehabbers out there that they're all competing against each other. Also, you've got all the people that are doing the buy and hold strategy. For my husband and I, the properties that we are purchasing have to fit that same criteria. Because what we do is we purchase the property in the as-is condition, we rehab the property, and then we do a cash-out refinance. So that way our end investment is usually under $10,000 per property once we do the rehab and then refinance again. Our average cash flow is about $500 per property. So the buy and holders are competing with the flippers. And with the inventory being that low, you've just got to act really, really quickly. If you've got a realtor that's doing hot sheets for you on the MLS, you can even have them check the MLS every hour on the hour for your criteria if you want to. A lot of times we see our hot sheets at 4 o'clock in the morning. We go in at maybe 8 or 9 o'clock making an offer, and they've already got 2 or 3. That's how competitive it is right now.
What lender do you recommend for your refi?
Matt? You can use it just about any lender, but the secret is make sure you get somebody on the front end that you could borrow the whole thing from. So a lot of the properties we're buying, we're borrowing 120% right off the front and then doing the refi at the end. If anyone can do a refi, if you trust Matt, which I do, use Matt. If you've got somebody else you like to use them. There's a construction loan that's available through Bank of America and Fork. And they will, if you put about 20% of the rehab or 20% of the ARV value into their bank and savings, they will actually loan you 120% and let you take draws against that. Then you turn around and refinance it with whoever you want to.
What's the weighting period?
If you have under 4 properties, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, if you have under 4 properties, you can refinance it immediately. If you have over 4 properties, then you've got to go Fannie Mae, and then you can hold it 6 months.
You can do it immediately, 5 to 10 also.
Okay.
Or go to a credit union, they portfolio all their stuff, and you can get unlimited refis. Who went to Golden West? Where's Stu? Is that working out for you?
Yeah, but they're not portfolio, but yes.
They're holding it, or they're holding it inside. I don't buy off the MLS, too much competition, so everything I do is direct from sellers. So when a seller calls me, I'm going to talk to them, and I just get the same spiel every time. Do you want all cash, or do you want full price? I can buy both one of 2 ways, and then I write them an offer. and then I go to escrow. I don't use the MLS to buy, but I use the MLS to sell. So I'm selling into a really hot market. So recently bought a house directly from a seller, 65 cents on the dollar, and then sold it mid-rehab for way more than we wanted. Of course, we always want more, right? But there are words where we've seen lots of houses, and this is the nicest one, and we don't want to lose it. So that's the way, and I always make the offer first, subject to physical inspection and verification of mortgage if there's debt on it. And those are the only two clauses I use. Oh, and marketable title. Those three things are usually get you past any squeaky points.
I was gonna say, I don't go out and look at the property. I don't ever go look at the property. I mean, it's, you know,
It's after I've come.
yeah, I mean, it's basically pick an area that you want to work in. You know what the values, I've got a couple areas, one area that we work in, I know that I can get at least $140 a foot for. And, and it's solid. So I start making offers at about $75 a foot. And you get them accepted. They may come back and say, well, no, I'm not doing 75, but I'll do it 78. And it's, I don't go out and look at the property. Why do I want to go out and look at the property? In fact, somebody tells me they have a property in Canyon Rim, and they're willing to sell it to me, for $75 a foot or less. I don't need to go look at it. I'll freaking close it now. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is.
And if you don't know the market that well, and you're thinking, oh, well, what if they take the $75 a square foot, and I find out later that, it's just not a good deal. Have you read the purchase agreement for the state of Utah? How many have read it the whole way through? And so you guys realize that it is written for the buyer. You've got a date for, you check one box that says subject to due diligence, and then you got a date for when you, as the buyer, have to complete your due diligence. And prior to that date, as the buyer, you can get out for any reason that you want, which is great on the buyer side. It stinks on the seller side. We've sold houses, and they're under contract, and then they come back and say, Mom and Dad looked at it, and we're just not going to buy it anymore. And that's perfectly valid. They get their earnest money back, and you lost that time as a seller from being on the market. As the buyer, it's awesome. So don't be afraid to write offers because, well, they might accept it, and maybe it's not a good deal, because you've got time to get out.
What do I say? I want subject to physical inspection. They have to give me clear and marketable title, and subject to mortgage verification if there's debt on it. And if it's an occupied tenant property, there's one more. You want verification of leases or an estoppel letter. You want those before you close.
Say the last one.
Verification of leases or an estoppel letter, verifying that everybody that's in, what they paid, what they owe, what their deposits are.
Mark, you had a question?
Yeah, I was going to shift just a little bit to some of the financing. I don't understand it exactly how to protect myself with the house so that they know, how to capture that contract, whatever, and so.
Buying or selling?
Fine. First.
Use an escrow company. Yeah. Basically, you're going to go on title, and the only real risk is that they don't make the payments. They can file bankruptcy, that could affect you too, but you can make a good argument that you were a buyer in due course. But so basically, instead of sending the money to them, if the payments are $1,300 a month, you're not writing the payments out to the seller. You're writing out to escrow services. It's probably the most common one here, but for $20 a month, they're going to send the money to Chase or whoever's holding the loan, and let the seller know that you've paid on time and you know that your money's gone to the lender. So, that's, I've never had one called due.
Joel or Sean, you want to ask that? Yes.
Did that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah, that is.
I don't know what to add.
Okay, who else had a question? Go ahead.
Partnering, screening potential partners.
What kind of partner?
What kind?
An investor
Just
partner.
like a spouse?
deal became quite comprehensive, looking for a partner to go in on rehab, maybe a commercial apartment complex, things such as this, the best way to screen potential partner.
So you're looking how to screen someone that has money that wants to do a deal with you?
Well, to screen the person to find out if they're legitimate, if they're a scam artist, or if they're...
It all depends on what type of partner you're going to get. If it's a money partner and that's all they're doing is bringing the money, all the real screening you need to do is make sure they have the money. If they're going to be a partner where they're involved, you're going to want to make sure that you want to see their track record of what have they done up until this point. It's like, how do you screen anybody? You go to Street and Center, you get their credit history, you get their past landlords, so that you get their references, so you want to get their references as well. Look at their bank statements even if you want to. But if you're going to be partners, you're going to need to be open anyways. And if someone's closed off to you right from the get-go, yeah, you don't want to get to know them, but if you've been talking with them for a couple months at least, and then you guys get along well and you're actually thinking about partnering, and not just some guy off the street that you just start with partner, just say, hey, let's partner. You want to get to know them personally as well, but it's the same process really on vetting anybody, I feel like.
I'm going to add to that. So I taught a class with 2 attorneys a couple months ago. So the first thing I would do is put things on paper with who's doing what, write it down. Put things on paper, who's managing the property, who's loan going to be under, who's going to collect the rent, if we're going to do capital calls, who's bringing money to the table. So then once you guys have talked about this, if you don't even know what to talk about, go in and meet with an attorney for an hour, pay him $300 or whatever he does, and say, this is what we're looking to do, what are all the things that we should consider? And go meet with a real estate attorney or a business attorney, because that's what they focus on. And then they're going to tell you all the bad things that can happen. And then if you choose saying, hey, we are taking into consideration everything that can happen, then you draft up an operating agreement. And the operating agreement is between you and the other individual to make sure you guys are agreed. And what's nice is before you move forward, you're signing on the dotted line with what they come up with. Because when I've refinanced clients, when their partnerships go bad, it's because they don't even know what to ask. So if you have someone that you feel comfortable with, you know, it's both worth splitting $150 each to go learn what you don't know. That's my suggestion.
The only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership. Remember that. Hard money is cheaper than a partner, and selling a deal and making some money and letting them have it all is also cheaper. You should do transactional partnerships with people, and just like Matt said, they're bringing the money, give them a deed of trust. Make sure that the dates are clearly defined, that they don't get to call it ahead of time, and that you know when the call is coming. Because I can guarantee you at some point, one of you is going to be lifting the heavier end of the beam, and the other one's going to get pissed, and then also all your trouble starts. So please don't be a partner out of need. Be a partner because you get along with the other person, and then wait about another 2 years before you actually ask them to be a partner. That's the truth, I'm not kidding, because it seems really shiny and bright and new, and then when it really turns ugly, Matt's advice, oh, it's great, you can write it all down, you can have an operating agreement, doesn't really matter. So I would really, really caution you, hard money is way cheaper than
Let's even just take a poll. Raise your hand if you've had a partnership that went well. Besides family.
It's not impossible.
Okay, so there's a couple. That's a good sign. But you just very few whatever. I've raised his hand, but Lonnie did.
We'll do a couple more questions. Yes, Trevor.
Sean, can you say your criteria again of what conditions do you put on your offers?
Oh, the offers?
Yeah.
I'm subject to clear and marketable title, subject to physical inspection. If it's got a meteor that went through the roof, I kind of want to look at that, and since I don't look at it before I make my offer. Subject to verification of mortgage or debt. And then leases or estoppel. It's a fancy word for telling me what tenants you have in your place.
Using the standard Utah real estate contract, really all you have to do is check the due diligence because it covers everything. Like they said, you can go in and say you don't like the color of the carpet.
Even up to financing, the way it's written.
I don't like the rep sheet, it's too long. If it's more than one page, I don't want to use it.
I'm gonna make a comment that, going to this seminar in Florida, it was interesting. The shorter, the simpler, the better. So why I'm bringing that up is, they gave examples, their due diligence deadline was until closing. Because here's why, if you have a tenant living in the house, and you do your due diligence, and 3 days later, they throw concrete down the drains, you want to buy the house? Maybe, unless you get a cheaper price. So make your deadlines as flexible as possible.
But that's situational, so you gotta remember you're dealing with Florida.
Sure.
It's like dealing with Detroit, you can put it 1 year out and they still get it up.
Sure. But I gave an example, lots of the investors said it's like simple one-page contracts.
The issue is when you become a broker as well as an investor, and here's what you run into.
I've done the same thing Sean does, use 1 page, 2 page real quick. It's a simple deal, that'll work with somebody that doesn't have a relative, neighbor, or friend who is an agent. Because by the time they look at it, they don't like it. Then if you start making offers to anybody that is an agent, they get like this real dumb look on their face, like, I don't know, what is this? It doesn't have 7 pages. And so, that's the thing is we've got, 5 people here, there's a different way to skin the cat. And, they all work. It's not like there's one that doesn't work. I started out doing that. Now I make all my offers on the rep sheet, mostly because I got it automated in my computer. And then I do the addendum that gets rid of everything I don't like in the rep sheet. And I just, I put it together, but it's very simple. But if you're an agent, you have to have your attorney bless your contract. If you're not an agent, the sky's the limit. You can say, we'll purchase for $100,000, $1 a year for the next 100,000 years, and things are good to go.
So you can read my offers again?
We'll do one more question as we get ready for the gift. Yes.
Second time here, just joined Sloria tonight.
Oh, thank you. Who else is serving tonight?
How can I maximize my new membership in Sloria, network with this, what seems like a phenomenal group of people, besides the once a month, few minutes before the meeting, after the meeting, in the hall? What can I do to maximize this membership?
Matt, did you pay him to ask that?
No, that's a good question. No, can I make? Number 1, there's 2 luncheons twice a month. So the first luncheon, if you want to write this down, is the first Friday of the month. It's at my family's restaurant called La Frontera. Joking, my family does not own it. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so at least we have one. So La Frontera, and then we also have the third Friday of the month, which is in Denny's downtown Salt Lake. And then we also have quarterly workshops that are extremely affordable. So that's what I would do. The other thing I would do is we have an awesome website that we rolled out. You can go to sloria.com, write this down if you're newer, and we have haves and wants. And what haves and wants is people will post what they're looking for or what they have, like if they need a contractor, they have a house to sell, or they have a lease option. And there's probably a haves and wants posting maybe every other day now, give or take. And what I would encourage you guys to do, that is a great way to find different deals. If I was new, I would actually call people on the haves and wants because they're already investors and they're telling you what they're looking for. And that's probably a great way to start networking more. You guys have any other suggestions?
Yeah, besides that, I would just take advantage. I think that people don't take advantage of the networking as much as they should here, talking to people before, after the meetings, getting their cards and taking them out to lunch afterwards. Just, you don't only have to network here. I mean, there's 3 or 4 people that have taken me out to lunch. I'm up for a free lunch like any day of the week. So you take me out to lunch, those people you ask them, I'm sure it was worth what they paid for lunch. So, I mean, it's up to you on how much you get out of the club. And I've been part of the club ever since I was 19 years old when I got into business. And now I'm up here, so I try to network and rub, yeah, 6 years. Yeah. But that's, it is what you make it, so.
19, you wholesale the house and then 30%.
I mean, you're gonna be surprised how many people, regardless of their level of success, are open to sitting down and talking to you. But getting here early, where's Michael? We were talking at the door. See where he is? All right. How much did you learn before the meeting started today?
I'm just blown away.
Okay. So to get here early and hang out. Usually, I mean, this is we're getting close to my bedtime here, but don't, Sean. Sorry, you head out for usually to Fridays or something after?
Yeah, meeting after the meeting.
Yeah, the meeting after the meeting. Hook up with Sean, figure out where they're going, and just spend time. I mean, Ann and I, it hasn't been a year and a half since we moved from Michigan, and you know, we started with 2 people that we met at a Peter Fortunato seminar 6 months before, and that led just through networking to all the people that are involved in our business and helping us look for deals and put deals together today. So you'd be surprised just by asking for help and advice and referrals how many you'll get.
And the second one was also get involved. I actually got more out of the club in the last 2 years since I started volunteering and helping. It's a little bit of time, but that's actually the most that I've had it.
Cool. So as we're wrapping up, here's the nice thing with Sloria. Who liked the round table? Raise your hand. Would you guys like us to do it more frequently?
Yes.
Okay, I actually like this. We should maybe do it like at least twice a year or so. The nice thing with joining the members of the club is the initial investment is only $100 a year. It's $8 a meeting. It's way more entertaining than going to a movie. At least I'm entertained. Depends on the type of movie.
More informative too.
Definitely more informative. So that's a great thing. There's a lot of very, very seasoned people in here. There's millionaires in here that don't look like millionaires, and there's people that are extremely knowledgeable. So what's cool is why we wanted to give this. Let's give a round of applause to our board. As we wrap up, so you guys can network and talk to whoever you want to, here's a suggestion I'm going to give this as a networking tip. I'm going to call it the Fentonites. The Fentonites always sit next to each other. This is my suggestion. Always sit next to someone you don't know. And the reason why is it makes you uncomfortable. And if you're with your spouse, have your spouse go network with someone else. Because you'll never know the types of conversations that you have, and you'll be able to connect with more people. I learned that at a networking seminar a long time ago, so hopefully that helps with you. What's nice as we wrap this up is we're going to have a couple grand prizes. If you have any of these tickets you want to check right now, we're not going to name them all.